I want to read you guys a few comments that I think are extremely interesting, and then we're going to talk about what these really mean. So a comment on yesterday's video, if you guys can see there, the video I put up yesterday regarding the pier fire in Oceanside, California. There's a comment on here that says, we got the 40 closed in New Mexico / Arizona. We got the 70 closed in Colorado. We got the 95 closed in Connecticut. Well, the 40 closed in New Mexico, Arizona was from the train derailment that caused a massive fire. You guys will remember I talked about that. The 70 closed in Colorado, I know what that is, and for the life of me, I can't remember right this second. But the 95 closed in Connecticut, I wasn't 100% positive if that's what I thought it was, because that was something that happened on Thursday morning. Today is Saturday. So another comment that came through yesterday, look at what happened today in Norwalk, Connecticut on I-95, huge fire on the thoroughway. The upper bridge was completely destroyed. Next comment. It sounds like bridges are being burnt. Highways are being shut. Would sound like no one can cross bridges or be on an expressway to go to other places. I wonder if this is starting to get, towards the whole, you will leave your home never again in life. Pretty much what they were saying here. Now, the first comment I saw, I had to take a screenshot of and send to myself because it said a lot. Let me show you guys this screenshot that I took from NUZ8822. When somebody leaves a comment, it doesn't always show their name. It'll just show like an @ symbol. So this comment that came in on yesterday's video. Did you see the massive fire in Connecticut on a major highway? Coincidentally stopped right under a bridge. Now, a day later, the bridge is being demolished with the whole accident being swept under the rug. The truck could have easily driven forward 20 feet to move the fire out from under the bridge. The truck itself looked unharmed, just trailer damage, but no explanation of how it happened or any of the other burned cars involved. So of course, y'all, the way I work, I had to go see exactly what was happening on I-95 in Connecticut. And so I found a little bit of information here. According to local news in Norwalk, Connecticut, the I-95 is still closed there after a tanker fire and bridge demolition begins. When will it reopen? And it made me think of in Atlanta a few years ago, there was a fire underneath a massive part of I-85 headed into downtown Atlanta. They had to close down the freeway for a very long time to rebuild the freeway, right? And it caused a lot of issues for a lot of people. They could not get into work that way. They had to go back roads and everything else. But what I think of when I see these things is what else is happening around there? When cars can't get through there, people can't get through there, you can't drone through there because they've got machines and equipment and stuff like that, or they tell you you're not allowed to. What else is going on in those areas? Because although I am labeled a conspiracy theorist a lot by a lot of people, and I wear it proudly because half the stuff that we've theorized about has come to pass, that makes you a realist, not a theorist, right? I am very cynical, or cynically optimistic, optimistically cynical. I'm still not sure which direction I am, but when it comes to stuff like this, I feel like I'm rather cynical because when history continues to repeat itself with these things happening, you have to think there's got to be some weird design to it. There's something going on when it's always on a major freeway. They're going to shut down a bridge, which means they have to shut down the freeway, which means nobody can get into that area. You have the Francis Scott Key Bridge that collapsed due to the dolly barge that happened to hit the pillar of it and just completely destroy it. And now all of that is out of whack for the longest time, and there's been no talk about it lately. There's been crickets on, news sources and things like that about exactly what's going on, the timeline, things like this. But what is interesting to me when these things happen, just like yesterday's Oceanside Pier in California, is that when these things happen, a federal emergency is declared for whatever this is. Yesterday was a basically derelict pier that isn't being used with a rundown building at the end of it. And somehow they're going to get federal funding to rebuild it. This bridge here that is in Norwalk, Connecticut, according to this, also going to get some federal funding to rebuild it. So according to this article that is from the CBSnews.com, the I-95 overpass in Norwalk, Connecticut that was compromised when a tanker truck crashed and burst into flames is being demolished, a process that will take all weekend according to state officials. So you've got this whole area completely shut down over the weekend. You can't drive through there, you can't go over there, nothing like that. So it's going to put a damper on a lot of people's travel or routes just to get to school, not school, it was weekend, to work or maybe shopping or friends, families, houses, things like that. That's going to happen. Officials called it a chain reaction crash. Just before dawn, a car swerved in front of a truck pulling a flatbed trailer as a fuel tanker approached the Fairfield Avenue overpass just past exit 15 South in Norwalk, Connecticut. To avoid it, this tractor trailer swerved to the right and he hit the other tractor trailer, which ripped open the back of his gasoline tanker. This is according to a gentleman named Stephen Shea with the Norwalk Fire Department. Work began early Friday morning to demolish the damaged overpass. Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont said crews will use shears to lift it, which could take at least 24 hours. Now, they have declared a state of emergency, because without declaring a state of emergency, you can't get federal help. A state of emergency must be declared in order to reach out to federal authorities to ask for help, aka money. Let's say that this bridge, I'm not from Norwalk, Connecticut. I have absolutely no idea. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. A lot of times, these bridges that happen to be getting messed up happen to be either extremely well-traveled bridges or areas where nobody ever is. It doesn't ever seem to be like that middle of the road. You know what I mean? Francis Scott Key Bridge, like hundreds of thousands of people, almost 1 million people a year travel that bridge. This one here, maybe 4 people a year travel it, who knows? But a state of emergency will get federal money to that bridge. So Lamont declared a state of emergency as drivers struggle to navigate detours, meaning a standstill for traffic and a slowdown for business. I worry about supply chain issues. If this should only take you 48 hours to get this bridge demolished, you should be able to reopen the freeway until you start rebuilding the bridge, right? You can't immediately go rebuild the bridge. You still have to put a bid out in theory if they're going to do things the correct way. If they happen to already have, here's the kicker. This is where my conspiracy theorist mind comes in. If they happen to already have a company on hand ready to go ahead and jump in and get to work, that shit was planned, because stuff like that takes time. You have to put together a proposal. You have to figure out what your estimates are. You have to get your crews together. You have to have a timeline. In theory, something like this should also have 3 bids. You should have 3 different companies trying to bid for this, especially if federal money will be paying for it or state money will be paying for it. If it's a private thing, that's totally different. But this is a state overpass, right? So there should be at least 3 bids going in, and those bids should have time to be put together and then sealed and then submitted, and then somebody with the state should open them, read the bids, and go for the lowest price bid. Generally speaking, how it works. I was in construction for a very long time. So if they are able to immediately get to work on this, that's some shady stuff right there, just so we're all fully aware. Supply chain issues. You're telling me there's no other bridge you can use, there's no other back way you can use? There should be no supply chain issues from this at all. But to put it into the minds of people in Norwalk, Connecticut, that there will be supply chain issues does 2 things. 1, panics people to go out and get as much as they can while they can, because they don't know what the supply chain issue is going to be. 2, makes the state and everybody else even more money. 2 things that are going to happen, right? I think it will definitely impact the local merchants, said Lamont. Local roads were a chaotic mess as thousands of drivers traveling one of the busiest interstates in the U.S. are being diverted around the accident scene. Northbound lanes are closed to all traffic at exit 14 and southbound lanes are closed at exit 15. Travelers are advised to use I-84 as an alternate route through the state, which means there will be no eyes on I-95 in that area. Just putting it out there just like that. North Metro has extra crews on call in case additional trains are needed. We know how we feel about trains. Norwalk Public Schools are closed Friday. This is yesterday, so this is a day old, side note. Norwalk Public Schools are closed Friday because of potential traffic backups. All practices are canceled through the weekend, but athletic games, drama performances, and proms are still allowed to take place. Connecticut officials are urging employers to let employees work from home if possible. Now, this is, if I can get this little video here to quit playing, which it's not going to. Oh, there we go. Hold on. Okay, so this is the area. You can see the truck underneath. This is the truck that caught fire. Literally could have pulled forward just a little bit more. Nothing is wrong with this vehicle right here. He could have easily pulled forward to get out from underneath that bridge. When things like this happen, my brain goes, You're telling me all of these events just happen to coincide and happen all at once? Now, I've seen Final Destination too many times in movies like that, and I read a lot of news, and I read a lot of comments, and I watch a lot of stuff, and that's probably why my brain works the way my brain does. But again, historically speaking, looking at how shady our local and state and country government officials are, it would not surprise me if at some point in time something came out saying that you know, this bridge happened to already be on deck for demolition. Nobody knows about it yet, but on deck for demolition, but they couldn't figure out how to pay for it because they want to build a whole new 15-minute city over here, or they want to put up a whole new something or other on this side, and they needed a nicer looking pathway to do it. Again, the way my brain works, squirrels all over the place and ping pongs back and forth, but everything to me makes sense. So the fact that this is going to be down and out and they're worried about supply chain issues is interesting to me. It says flames spread down the highway and roasted the overpass. The fire caused significant damage to the structure and the gas, phone, and cable utility lines running underneath it. So on top of that, because of the way they said that, you need to understand that the people in that area, your gas may be cut off, your phone will be cut off, and your cable will be cut off. You are basically stuck where you are if that's the case. If they're trying to say that the roads can't be used and there's too much traffic, so don't go that way, your gas is off, your phone is off, your cable is off, you can't call out for help, you can't see what's happening anywhere unless you have a cell phone, obviously, and you can still get your internet that way. Just interesting. This bridge is less than 10 years old, but the damage was pretty severe due to the amount of gasoline that was in the tanker. It ignited directly underneath the bridge structure. Again, that's real convenient. The seal did begin to overheat and warp, a Connecticut Department of Transportation official said. Unfortunately, it's not able to be safely reopened in either direction underneath that bridge. The bridge was damaged. The heat from the burning fuel compromised some of the bridge, so that bridge is going to have to come down. Later, Lamont said on X, formerly known as Twitter, the overpass near exit 15 on I-95 in Norwalk needs to be demolished and the roads need to be repaved. Expect this area of the highway to remain closed through at least Monday. Avoid driving in the area. At least Monday, and we're talking about supply chain issues. At least Monday, and you're going to repave and have it all done, everything finished. They had this set up already. I mean, I understand when there's an emergency, it's easy to get crews on scene, but if they start rebuilding that bridge in the next week, then that shit was planned, just so we're all fully aware. State Emergency Management Director Bill Turner said anyone that drives into that area in that geographical footprint will receive a wireless alert on their cell phone advising them to avoid the area. Because, you know, GPS tracking everywhere. The closed stretch of I-95 serves 160,000 vehicles per day. This is according to the governor's office. So here's a better picture of the destruction, which from here doesn't look like that much of destruction. Thank God no serious injuries, but it has resulted in the closing of I-95 north and south, and that is incredible in terms of the traffic jams and what's happening there. Now, why it needs to be closed that other direction until they start tearing that down doesn't make sense to me, unless you're going to say that because of the fire over here, the bridge itself is structurally unsound all the way across and there could be like a collapse. You know, okay, then that makes sense. Hours after the fire was put out, the charred remnants of 2 trucks and a passenger vehicle sat on the shuttered highway between exits 15 and 16. Northbound lane closures started at exit 13 in Darien. This is according to, again, the Connecticut Department of Transportation. It's an incredible inconvenience for people, blah, blah, blah. And then they're telling you what you should use. Our highway team is working closely with Connecticut's DOT on the tanker fire that has closed I-95 in Norwalk. Please heed local authorities on detours and avoid the area if possible. Thank you to first responders who are dealing with the fire and keeping other drivers safe. Again, now I'm very confused as to what is happening. So, okay, look at this picture. Again, I was not here for this. I did not see the local news with, you know, anything they were showing, if they were showing anything. This is where the fire occurred, and you can see all the white from where they had the fire truck and all the, like the foam and the fire extinguishers type stuff. Why is it also right here at the beginning of this bridge? What happened right here? The fire was over there. What happened over here? Now I have questions. I have so many questions, but that's fine. That's fine. The truck was carrying 8,500 gallons of fuel and 75% either burned or spilled onto the highway. Hazmat crews responded to the spill and had concerns about material getting into the Norwalk River, but testing revealed no impact on air or water quality. Now, we all know how we feel about, you know, like EPA and their testing and stuff like that, but I don't see a river near there. Where is there a river? There's concrete barriers everywhere. Where is there a river? I don't see one. Why would there be worry of that? All I'm saying is, this picture, what fire was right here that you were putting out? The fire was over here. Why do we have the same stuff that's here over here? I need to understand how this jumped from here to here. You know what I'm saying? Y'all understand how I think and why I'm very confused as to what is happening in this picture right now. Okay, that's that. Listen, I'm going to keep an eye on this, and I'm telling you, if bridge rebuild starts within the next week, shady. The demolition of it, I'm sure, is happening today and tomorrow. But if it starts being rebuilt any sooner than the next week, issues. Just saying. But I appreciate everybody who left the comments on yesterday's video letting me know exactly what was going on in Connecticut so I could look it up and bring it to your attention, because I feel like we're going to see more and more of these. First it was first it was, plant fires and explosions and things like that. Then it was, random animals dying. Remember 10,000 cows? And then it was train derailments. And so now it's bridges. 2024 is the year of bridge collapses and demolitions and things like that. So which one's next? I don't want to take a guess. That would be awful. You're like, oh, but I'll just pick a bridge. And then next thing you know, you're like, oh man, that sucks. So I'm not picking, but I'm just saying, I feel like there'll be more of these stories coming out in the next few months. Hopefully I'm wrong. I would like there not to be. But if you're in the Norwalk, Connecticut area, avoid I-95 between exit 13 and exit 16. Listen, Squirrel Tribe, I'd love your thoughts and comments on this down below if you don't mind. And I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your Saturday. I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.